Hello everybody and welcome to my series of micro lessons. These short lessons will focus on common errors that are often made when writing literature essays, and they'll give you advice and guidance on how to fix them. Today's lesson is on ensuring that your quotations aren't too long. Okay, so let's have a look at the initial problem. So your quotations are too long, they become confusing, and then you find that there is too much to comment on. The solution. You need to be able to decide which words and phrases from the quotation that you actually need. So try and make sure that your quotations are short, they're concise, they support your point, but you've left yourself with enough to analyse. So it means that you have to be quite strategic in the parts of the quotation that you want to keep. And what might help you is to highlight the quotation and just highlight the sections of it that you think add the most value to your essay, but also that you could really comment on in terms of language or technique. So let's have a look at some of the errors in practice. So we have the dog, once huge and fleshy but now gone to bone and covered with sores, moved in and through the house tracking commands. So we have a lot there, there's a lot going on. So your point is never really going to encompass every single thing that quotation is doing. It's showing lots of different things about the dog. It's showing what it looks like, its condition, but also the way in which it moves through the house. There's a lot that you won't be able to analyse all at one time. So you must decide which part of that do I really need. So what we've done instead, so if we look at how to fix it, Bradbury describes how the dog is so thin it is only bone and is covered with sores. So what we've done, we've been quite selective here and decided out of all of this, what do I need to really show my point in terms of how the dog is described? Let's look at another example. So this is from The Crucible, and this is Tituba's speech at the end of Act 1. So it is quite long. We can see it's about Paris, but there's a lot that she mentions here. So we've got, he said, Mr. Paris must be killed, Mr. Paris no godly man, Mr. Paris mean and no gentleman, and he bid me rise out of my bed and cut your throat. So again, there's multiple things that are happening here. Descriptions of Paris, but also what should be done with Paris. So you must decide which part of that you need, which reinforces your point, which elements of that you can just paraphrase. So we put it into context. When being questioned towards the end of Act 1, Tituba's real feelings towards Paris emerge. She speaks words she attributes to the devil as a way of revealing opinions on Paris that she would otherwise be punished for. So because it's quite a long quotation, note how it's now been introduced and embedded. She claims that the devil accuses Paris of being mean, not a godly man, and not gentle. So note how we actually have only taken in total here 4 words initially. So out of all of this, we've decided which 4 words we need. So note the connective here that says we're going to pull something else from the quotation. In addition, under the guise of speaking the devil's words, she is now free to verbalise apt punishments for Paris, such as cutting his throat. So a lot of this is paraphrased, and all that remains are just the words that you'll be able to use when you want to analyse it in the next section of your paragraph. Final example from the novel. So we have a conversation here between Julia and Winston. So we don't really need all of it. If you look at it, it's quite long. But it is important, and this is a key quotation from the novel, so we have to be very selective in terms of what we keep. So to put it into context, so you want to be able to show that 2 people are talking rather than having the whole conversation in there. So you can just put that part into your own words. Winston and Julia discuss the significance of the paperweight. So now not only are we putting it into context, but we're saying what they're talking about, which means that we can probably take out a lot of this quotation. And Winston refers to it as a chunk of history from 100 years ago. So note my ellipsis here, and the ellipsis indicates that certain parts of the quotation have been removed. So I've only kept the parts that I need, and all the bits in the middle I've just taken out. So that is how you ensure that your quotations are short, concise, and useful. And my final top tips for you. Before you copy out your quotation, underline or highlight the key words or phrases. Check that these support your point. If you're confident that they do, that they're interesting, that they're the relevant part of the quotation that you need, you can then start to embed that into part of your own sentence. You can choose to embed the relevant words or phrases into your own sentences, as well as paraphrasing sections that you don't really need as direct quotations. Use an ellipsis to show that you've removed the parts that aren't relevant. And if you need to add or change words in a quotation, you use square brackets. So sometimes if you keep the quotation as it is, it doesn't maybe grammatically make sense with your own sentence. If that is the case, you can just adapt the word. Sometimes it's changing the tense or the pronoun, and you just make sure that it's in your square brackets. So I hope you've enjoyed my micro lesson on how to ensure your quotations are short, concise and relevant. Thank you very much. Goodbye.